Hi everyone, in this video we'll be looking at variables. Now to understand what variables are, let's try a few operations. I'll say I have system.out.print. I want to try to print something to a console. So 4 plus 3. End your statement with semicolon, very important. And I will try to run this and see what I get. Then we'll try a few more instructions and we'll see the result. So we can see the result showing hello world, which is the first statement, and then we have 7, which is the result of this addition here. So let's have another statement. Println 4 minus 3. And then let's have one more. System.out.println. Let's say 4 multiplied by 3. To do multiplication, use the asterisk sign. So let's run this and see the results. And we can see we have 7, which is the addition of 4 and 3, 1, which is the subtraction of 3 from 4, and then 12, which is the multiplication of 4 and 3. Now say we want to change all 4s in this 3 statement to say 5. We have to go into every statement and adjust that value to the new value. And then let's run and see that it still works. Now, if we had 50 statements that used 4 and we needed to change the value in all 50, we'll go manually into every of the 50 statements and change 4. Now, using variables, we're able to have just one variable used everywhere in all the 50 statements. And if we needed to make a change, we'll just change the value of the variable and it takes effect in all 50 statements. So let's define a variable that holds the value of 5. So to declare a variable, you name the data type, which we'll be using int since we have a number, and let's say x. Now, this in Java is called variable declaration. We have told Java that we want a variable of type int and given the variable a name of x. Now let's assign a value to x. To assign a value to x, we'll say x equals the value. So current value we have is 5. And remember to always end your statements with semicolon. Now we can now comfortably come here and replace 5 with x, 5 with x, and the same down here. So let's run and be sure that it works. So everything is supposed to be the same as it was before. It's supposed to get the same results, 8, 2, and 15. So anytime we need to change 5, we change it in this one place and everywhere reflects the new value. So as you can see, the new value of x is now 10. So 10 plus 3, we have 13. 10 minus 3, 7. 10 times 3, we have 30. Now, so what variables help us do is assign a space in the memory of the computer and say, in this memory allocation, put 10 into this memory allocation. So we have x as a point in the memory of the computer. And currently the value x, which is the memory holds, is 10. If we change this, Java will go back to where it placed 10 before and switch it back to 6. So we can see here that the value is updated to 6. Okay, since this is a variable, that means we can change the value of x from 6 at any point in our program. So before this last statement, let's try to change the value of x to 20. And let's see the results. Now, like I said, very important, always end your statement with a semicolon. Now, my program failed to run because I missed a semicolon. on line 10. So once I add this, everything should work. So let's wait for it to build, and we should see that the value of x is changed before this statement. So we can see that x was 6 here, so 6 plus 3, we have 9. 6 minus 3, we have 3. And then just before doing this, printing out these statements, we change the value of x. So x is now 20 multiplied by 3, and we have 60. Now let's swap out. You can see that 3 here has remained constant throughout. Now there's another way to define values or placeholders that hold value for you. Instead of us having 3 everywhere, let's say we wanted it to be in just one place in our program, and we're very sure that the value is always going to be 3, and we're not going to change it. So we have another thing called constants. Now, any statement I start with a double forward slash is considered by the Java compiler to be a comment. So they don't compile as part of your code. They will not be processed like every other part that doesn't start with that. So they will be ignored by the compiler. So this helps us keep a clean, readable, and understandable code. So next time when I come to this code, I'll know what I was talking about when I wrote this code was variables. And what I'm about talking about here is constants. When I see the comments, it helps me understand clearly what was going on when the program was written. So let's have a constant that holds the value of 3 for us. So to declare a constant, we start with the final keyword, and the data type is still int. So we'll have int, we'll have 3. So these 2 lines that we have here can be done in a single line. So what we have done here, I'm sorry, I missed the name of the variable. So what we have done here is to declare the variable y and also initialize the value to 3. So final here tells Java that we want a variable that doesn't change value. We'll see what that means in a second. So let's first try to change all the occurrences of 3 with y. So let's run and be sure that everything still works. So we can see that everything still works. Now, just like I changed the value of x before this operation, let me try changing the value of y. So let me make y 1, semicolon, and try to run. So we can see immediately that the program fails to run, telling us there's an error. And we're trying to assign a value to a final variable y. So we said it's a final variable, which makes it a constant, so its value cannot change. So anywhere you try to change the value, the constant variable, the compiler will fail, and then your program will crash, just like ours has done right now. So let's remove this line, and everything should be back to normal. So I've used int. Does that mean that we can't use all the other primitive types to declare variables? No. We can have other variables here. So let's say string my name. And since it's string, double quotation, and I have Abdul. So we can have char. We can name it letter. We'll have A. So for characters, single quotation. We can have double, say Z, and we'll give it 2D. Now, it is very important to note that I'm trying to declare a value or a variable that is supposed to be of type double, which means it's supposed to be a floating point number. But 2 is a whole number or an integer. To let Java know that what I want to define is indeed a double, I have to end the statement just before the semicolon, add a D to it. So that tells Java that it's still a double, even if my current representation is a whole number. If I don't want to do that, I can put 2.2, and this works perfectly fine. Now we've seen this print statement. So this line here is what you use to print statements to the console. We've all seen results appearing in the console. So let's try to use a variant of this that prints all the statements on the same line. So I will explain what I mean shortly. So system.out.print. So instead of print ln, I'll use print. Now I'll tell it to print my name. I'll use the same statement again. Out.print letter. And lastly, I'll tell it to system.out.print. I'll tell it to print Z. Now, what we'll see here is I have hello world, which uses println on a single line. I have the result of x plus y on a single line, the result of x minus y on a single line or on a separate line, and I have x multiplied by y on another separate line. Where I have all three statements here printed on the same line. So the print statement just prints your data to the console but doesn't move to the next line. But when you use the println statement, you're saying print and then move on to the next line. So that's why we have all four statements on different lines, and this variant prints the statements all on the same line until it encounters a println, which makes it go to the next line, or a line break, which is what we have ln to represent. So that will be all for this class. I hope we've been able to cover all cases of variable. If not all, been able to cover much of it, and we'll see a lot more in the coming classes.